Hello everyone, welcome again to online session of Manolaw classes. My name is Dinesh Kumar. I am former assistant professor of law at Campus Law Center, Law Faculty, Delhi University, and currently I am working as an academic head of Manolaw classes. In today's session, I will discuss with you LA questions of the month. In these questions, I will discuss with you one legal passage for the purpose of CLAT examination and few questions based upon the pattern of IELTS examination. Before moving forward, there is an important announcement for all of you that admissions are open at Manolaw classes for the upcoming examination of CLAT, that is 2022 and 2023, and for that purpose all of you may get yourself enrolled with us for getting the best result. For more information, you can dial on the given number, and you may also visit our website, that is Law Entrance www.lawentrancindia.com. We at Manolaw classes are also providing 15 days free trial to all the students, and in these 15 days free trial you will get the following benefits. Number 1, live classes with one-to-one interaction. Number 2, recorded conceptual lectures on various topics. Number 3, topic test, and number 4, sectional test. Dear students, we will also provide you the analysis of your performance, and this analysis will be done by our team of experts. So now we come to the first passage, but before moving this passage, I would like to give you certain guidelines regarding the solution of the passage during the examination. Dear students, as you are aware of this fact that there are 150 questions in your CLAT examination and the duration is 2 hours, means 120 minutes. So if we divide 150 questions by 120 minutes, then generally or hardly you will get 1.25 minutes for one single question. Got it? Now, so the length of each passage is generally 400 to 450 words, and as far as the legal portion is concerned, you will be asked around 8 passages in the legal portion, and these 8 passages will contain around 40 questions. So you will get maximum 50 minutes to solve your LA questions or LA portion. If you will devote more time even to the single passage or any one of the aspect or any one of the area of your question paper, that is GS, English, Math, Reasoning, LA, then you are bound to compromise this time in any other question or any other area or any other subject. So it is my this suggestion for all of you that you must practice hard at your home by fast reading of the passage. I am also suggesting you certain other guidelines or certain other measures by which you can reduce your time of solving of this legal passages. Number 1, that you need not to read each and every word of the legal passage, because if you will read each and every word of the passage, you will give more time to single passage and you will compromise this time somewhere else. Secondly, you just try to identify the words by their shapes, means if you have the constitution, if you see the constitution, so just merely seeing you can understand this is the constitution. Second or third point is that you should try to anticipate the words, means you must be habitual of reading the passage in a very fast manner. For example, there are certain repetitions of the word in the passage. For example, in the given passage, the Indian Penal Code 1860. So suppose this word these words of Indian Penal Code 1860 have been used 4 times or 5 times in the passage, then you need not to specifically read them. because if you will skip them, you will save your time of around 10 second or 15 second, and that will help you to focus more upon the questions or giving answers of the particular passage. So these are my some suggestions for this. Moreover, one more thing is that I have seen the previous year question papers as per the recent guidelines given by the consortium, and I observed one thing, that is most of the passages have been taken by the CLAT based upon the current informations or current news. This current news may be related to the Law Commission, may be related to any of the landmark judgment of Honorable Supreme Court or of any High Court. Mostly the judgment of Honorable Supreme Courts are asked. Next, this may be any current legal issue, and this issue may be related to the national law or as well as the international law. For example, it may relate to the extradition, it may relate to the asylum and any other issue of the international law or topics of the international law. What is important here, if you don't know or if you don't have the background of these concepts, and if these concepts comes before you in your examination, you will not be able to answer these questions. So what is my suggestion for all of you? My suggestion is that first of all, you must have good command over all the concept of the law, of mainly the main subjects, for example the Constitution of India, second the IPC, contract, tort, etc. And if you will have the better understanding of the concept of any subject, then you would be in a better positions to correlate it while you will solve the passage in your examination. As far as my today's passage is concerned, it is based upon the death penalty as a punishment for the offense of murder. I have chosen this passage because the death penalty is such a topic which generally remain in news, and Law Commission of India in its 262 report also has recommended for the abolition of the death penalty from the IPC. One more things for you is that you should not give more than 6 minutes to solve a particular passage based upon the law. And how can you solve that passage in 6 minutes? I told you certain tricks, that you need not to read each and every word of the passage. You should try to anticipate the words, means what word will come after the particular section or particular article. Secondly, you should try to identify the word by their shape, and you need not to read each and every letter of a particular word. Now, if we come to this today's passage, it provides that the Indian Penal Code 1860, which was in force in many states. So I am just giving you the basic idea regarding this passage. Basically, Indian Penal Code came into existence in 1860, and Constitution of India came into existence on 26 January 1950, or came into force, we can say that. When the IPC came into existence or came into force in 1860, then there is a punishment of death provided under section 302 of IPC in the case of offense of murder. So if any person commits the offense of murder, then there are two punishments under section 302 of IPC, and the punishment number 1 is life imprisonment, and punishment number 2 is the death penalty. But there was no guidelines before the Honorable Court that in what cases a court must give the death penalty, or in what cases court must give the life imprisonment to the convicted, accused or convicted person. What was the general rules which was being followed at that point of time? It was that death penalty was a rule. Means if somebody has committed the offense of murder and it is proved in the court of law beyond reasonable doubt, then honorable court used to give the death penalty to such convicted person, and life imprisonment was merely an exception. Means only suppose 100 cases were there of this murder, that only 5 or in 10 cases court used to give court used to award the life imprisonment, and around in 90% cases court used to award the death penalty. But when the Constitution of India came into force, Part 3rd of the Constitution of India, containing from Article 12 to 35, provided us various fundamental rights. And there are two articles which are important here to quote. Number 1 is Article 21 of Constitution of India, and Article 21 of Constitution of India provides for the right to life and personal liberty for every person. And this right to life and personal liberty can only be taken by virtue of procedure established by law. Second, Article 13 of the Constitution of India provided that if any law is in force or was in force even before the commencement of the Constitution, and if any such law comes into inconsistency or is against any of the fundamental rights provided under Part 3rd of the Constitution, such law would be null and void to the inconsistency of such law with the fundamental rights. Means अगर कोई कानून हमारे देश में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के लागू होने से पहले चला आ रहा था और वो कानून कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के लागू होने के बाद भी प्रेजेंट है और इनफोर्स है, और ऐसा कानून किसी भी प्रकार से किसी भी फंडामेंटल राइट के अगेंस्ट है, तो ऐसा कानून null and void होगा, and null and void here means it would not have any legal consequences. So dear students, when a Constitution of India came into force, then the death penalty came into direct conflict with the Article 21 read with Article 13 of the Constitution of India. So the death penalty was challenged, being as unconstitutional. There are two more provisions in our Constitution of India which gives the power to the Honorable President and Honorable Governor. Respectively, these are Article 72 and 161. In these, under these article, Honorable President under Article 72 and Honorable Governor under Article 161 can grant this exemption or can grant the pardon with respect to any punishment which has been imposed by or which has been awarded by any court or tribunal within the territory of India. Means अगर किसी व्यक्ति को किसी कोर्ट ने या किसी ट्राइब्यूनल ने कन्विक्ट किया है, तो ऑनरेबल प्रेसिडेंट आर्टिकल 72 के अंदर और ऑनरेबल गवर्नर आर्टिकल 161 के अंदर ऐसे व्यक्ति को पार्डन दे सकते हैं बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ मर्सी पिटिशन. Second, Article 134 is also there. Article 134 provides for the appeal if Honorable High Court has reversed the decision of acquittal of earlier trial court. Means अगर ट्रायल कोर्ट ने किसी एक्यूज्ड को एक्विट किया है एंड प्रोसिक्यूशन ने उसकी अपील हाई कोर्ट में की है और हाई कोर्ट ने उसके ट्रायल कोर्ट के डिसीजन को रिवर्स कर दिया है, मतलब बदल दिया है, और ऐसे व्यक्ति को डेथ पेनल्टी दे दी है, देन बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ आर्टिकल 134 then appeal may be filed in the Honorable Supreme Court. But after some time there was amendment in the CRPC, and by virtue of amendment this practice was followed that the death penalty should not be given in every case of murder, rather it should be given the life imprisonment should be given as a punishment in most of the cases. So the situation changed subsequently, and the situation was that now this life imprisonment become a rule and death penalty has become as an exception. So there was complete reverse or complete change in the position before the constitution came into force and after the constitution came into force. Now dear students, there are 5 questions in this particular passage and I'm reading these questions and you have to give the correct answer of all these questions. So the first question is, the constitutional validity of death sentence was challenged by a human rights organization before the Honorable Supreme Court as violative of right to life under Article 21 of Constitution of India. The Attorney General of India argues before Honorable Supreme Court that the death penalty is constitutional. Which of the following statement is more logical and most appropriate? Means, when the Constitution of India came into force, Article 21 gives every person right to life and personal liberty. But Section 302 of IPC provides death penalty as a punishment. So after the commencement of the Constitution, when the death penalty was awarded by the Honorable Court, this was challenged, or the constitutional validity of the death penalty was challenged, and it was argued on the behalf of Attorney General of India that death penalty is not against the Constitution, rather it is a valid provision. So now you have to choose which of the following option is most appropriate. Dear students, there may be 2 options or 3 options in your all the given 4 or 5 options in your examinations, which may be quite similar to each other, but you have to give that option which is most appropriate in the given situation or given factual situation, and considering the information given in the legal passage. So there are 5 options, and option number 1 is death penalty is legal as it is mentioned as punishment under Indian Penal Code. तो पहला ऑप्शन ये है कि डेथ पेनल्टी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अगेंस्ट नहीं है. क्यों नहीं है अगेंस्ट? बिकॉज इट हैज बीन प्रोवाइडेड एज ए पनिशमेंट इन द IPC itself. Second option is death penalty is not in the violation of Article 21 because a person can be deprived of his right to life and personal liberty by following a procedure established by law only. Means death penalty इसलिए constitution के against नहीं है because death means life of a person by virtue of death penalty is taken only in accordance to the procedure established by law as it has been provided in the Article 21 of Constitution of India. Third, death penalty is constitutional for it serves justice by eliminating perpetrators of brutal crimes. थर्ड ऑप्शन कहता है कि डेथ पेनल्टी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल है. क्यों? क्योंकि ये अपराधी को मिटा देती है. एंड फोर्थ ऑप्शन इज लॉ कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया हैज रिकमेंडेड रिटेंशन ऑफ डेथ पेनल्टी फॉर द टेररिस्ट एक्ट. मीन्स लॉ कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया ने रिकमेंड किया है कि जो टेररिस्ट एक्टिविटीज़ हैं उसमें डेथ पेनल्टी को कंटिन्यू हमको रखना चाहिए. एंड द फिफ्थ ऑप्शन इज नन ऑफ द अबव. नाउ माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, please suggest which of the following option is most appropriate after considering the information given in the passage. As I asked you in the given question, it was the contention on the part of the Attorney General of India that the death penalty is constitutional. But which of the following option is most appropriate with respect to the contention of Attorney General of India? The correct option is B because it is more logical and it is based upon the Article 21 of Constitution of India. So there is also an elimination method while you have the various options. So and if you are not able to find the correct one, then you may use the elimination method. So elimination method means if you see the various options here, so there are 4 options. Fifth is the none of the above. So first, death penalty is legal is mentioned. So death penalty, we cannot say that the death penalty is legal merely by virtue of fact it is mentioned in the IPC. So this is not a logical answer that it is if it is mentioned in the IPC then it will always remain legal. This is not the logical answer. Now we come to second is the correct. We come to third. So death penalty is constitutional because it eliminates the perpetrator of brutal crimes. So it is also not a correct option because merely eliminations of the perpetrators or criminals from the society is not the solution of the problem. Third, Law Commission has recommended that it should be retained only for the purpose of terrorist activities. So this is also not logical because I know that the terrorist activity is a very heinous crime, but there may be various other crimes which may also be heinous. So awarding the death penalty or not awarding the death penalty cannot be based upon a particular crime or particular number of crimes. Rather, it must depend upon the gravity of the offense or not on the name or the particular activity of a particular crime. Now we come to the second question. Which of the following is not a difference between the pardoning power of the president and the governor? Means there are 5 options. इन 5 ऑप्शंस में से एग्जामिनर आपसे पूछता है कि कौन सा डिफरेंस नहीं है between the pardoning power of the governor or pardoning power of the honorable president. This information means this pardoning power of governor and pardoning power of president has been mentioned under this given passage. Now reading the option number 1. President can pardon death sentence whereas governor cannot pardon a death sentence. Option 1 कि प्रेसिडेंट डेथ सेंटेंस को एब्सोल्युटली पार्डन कर सकते हैं और गवर्नर नहीं कर सकते. सेकंड, प्रेसिडेंट कैन इन्वोक आर्टिकल 72 इन केस ऑफ सेंटेंस पास्ड बाय ए कोर्ट मार्शल वेयर एज द गवर्नर कैन नॉट इन्वोक आर्टिकल 161. मीन्स प्रेसिडेंट हैज बीन गिवन मोर पावर here means that article 72 can be invoked even if the death sentence has been passed by the court martial. But the same power does not lie with the honorable governor under article 161. Third, president can exercise his power only for central laws. Central laws here means the laws enacted by the parliament, whereas the governor can exercise his power for और सेंट्रल एज वेल एज स्टेट लॉज. मीन्स गवर्नर अपनी पावर को सेंट्रल लॉज के रेस्पेक्ट में और स्टेट लॉज के रेस्पेक्ट में एक्सरसाइज कर सकते हैं अंडर आर्टिकल 161 एंड प्रेसिडेंट अपनी पावर को केवल सेंट्रल लॉज मीन्स लॉज एनेक्टेड बाय द पार्लियामेंट के रेफरेंस में ही एक्सरसाइज कर सकते हैं. नेक्स्ट, द पावर ऑफ प्रेसिडेंट अंडर आर्टिकल 72 इज वाइडर देन द पावर ऑफ गवर्नर. प्रेसिडेंट की जो पावर हैं वो गवर्नर की पावर से कंपैरेटिवली वाइडर हैं. एंड फिफ्थ वन इज नन ऑफ द पावर. डियर स्टूडेंट्स, आई हैव रीड 5 ऑप्शंस बिफोर यू. नाउ इफ यू विल अप्लाई योर जुडिशियल माइंड, then you will come to know that which of the option is more appropriate and more logical. So option 1 and option 2 are logical because obviously the governor is a lower authority in comparison to the president, and generally or as on the basis of common sense, a lower authority has less power in comparison to the higher authority. But option C is providing that governor, this president can exercise his power only for the central laws. Means president can only exercise his power only for the law enacted by the parliament, but the governor can exercise his power with respect to the law enacted by the parliament as well as the law enacted by the legislature of the state. So this is not appearing to be logical. Why it is not logical? Because this option C is curtailing the power of the honorable president and giving more power to the honorable governor. So the correct option will be C. Now we come to this question number 3, and question number 3 provides that which of the following is the true with respect to death penalty under the Indian Penal Code. Means death penalty के संबंध में 5 ऑप्शंस में से कौन सा ऑप्शन करेक्ट है और एप्रोप्रिएट है. तो आई एम रीडिंग ऑप्शन नंबर 1. Death penalty is not prescribed as the only punishment in any of the provisions of IPC. Means IPC के किसी भी प्रोविजन में डेथ पेनल्टी को एक सिंगल पनिशमेंट नहीं प्रोवाइड किया गया है. सेकेंड, द प्रोविजंस ऑफ मैंडेटरी डेथ पेनल्टी was declared unconstitutional in the case of Mithu Singh versus State of Punjab. Third, death penalty has been prescribed for the offence of rape after Nirbhaya case. Means earlier death penalty नहीं थी हमारी IPC में, and the death penalty came only after the Basant Vihar gang rape case, or that is popularly known as the Nirbhaya case. Next, death penalty cannot be abolished from the Indian Penal Code. डेथ पेनल्टी को हम एबोलिश नहीं कर सकते. एंड लास्ट वन इज नन ऑफ द अबव. तो बेसिकली दिस नन ऑफ द अबव इज ऑफ नो यूज. मोस्टली दिस ऑप्शन इज गिवन टू कंफ्यूज द स्टूडेंट्स, एंड व्हेन अ स्टूडेंट डज नॉट फाइंड एनी ऑप्शन मीन्स ABCD आर suitable, so most of the students go for the option E, and that is the none of the above or all of the above. So this is merely a trick of the examiner to get you confused. Now, if we see, we have seen the 5 options there with respect to this particular question number 3. Now, if we apply our judicial mind, and if we have the knowledge about the IPC, means Indian Penal Code. So, you may be aware, if you have gone through the IPC, there is section 303 of IPC which provides for the mandatory death penalty. The constitutional validity of this section 303 was challenged in the case of Mithu Singh versus State of Punjab, and Honorable Supreme Court in this case struck down that particular section on the ground that it is arbitrary in nature, and there is the mention of death penalty as only the single punishment under section 303 in the given situations. This appeared Honorable Supreme Court in this particular case that it is illogical, and it is not based upon any reasonable classifications, and it also takes away the jurisdiction of honorable courts to award death penalty or to award the life imprisonment. So considering all these grounds, Honorable Supreme Court declared mandatory death penalty as unconstitutional under section 303 in the case of Mithu Singh versus State of Punjab. So the option B is the correct answer with respect to this particular question. Now we come to next question. What is the meaning of the term rarest of the rare category? So dear students, if you have gone through the information in the passage correctly or carefully, or if you have some basic knowledge about the IPC, then you would be able to answer this question. In this question, examiner simply asking the meaning of the term rarest of the rare category. So there are again 5 options with us, and the option 1 is death penalty should be given only in exceptional circumstances. Death penalty केवल एक exceptional circumstances में दी जानी चाहिए. Means death penalty should not be as a rule, rather it should be as an exception. Second, death penalty is a rule and life imprisonment is an exception. Death penalty एक rule है और life imprisonment उसका एक exception है. इसका मतलब ये होता है बच्चों कि death penalty mostly offenses में दी जानी चाहिए और life imprisonment केवल कुछ ही offenses में दी जानी चाहिए. So option B अगर हम देखें तो it is in direct contradiction of the information given in the passage if you have read it carefully. Third, life imprisonment is a rule and death penalty is not an exception. Life imprisonment एक rule है, means in most of the cases life imprisonment should be given as a punishment, but death penalty is not an exception. So what is the consequences of the option C? The consequences of option C is that both become a rule. So this is again in contradiction of the information given in the passage. And fourth is all the above, and fifth is the none of the above. So these 4 and 5th are merely to confuse the student. So we have to choose out from ABC the one correct option. So if we see option number 1, that appears to be more logical on the basis of information given in the passage, which provides that death penalty should only be given in the exceptional circumstances. So Honorable Supreme Court in the case of this Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab and Machi Singh versus State of Punjab has given this rarest of the rare category theory, and in these cases Honorable Supreme Court held that the death penalty should not be given as a rule, rather it should be given as an exception, or means it should only be given only in the exceptional circumstances. So here your this basic knowledge, here your static knowledge of the concept is very important to solve the questions of the passage. Suppose you are not having the knowledge about the rarest of the rare theory earlier, and this term rarest of the rare theory just come before you in the examination. So dear students, you will not be able to solve these kind of questions. So focused on the this basic concepts of the law. Simultaneously you should also focus on the current legal knowledge and correlate current with the basic concept. Now I will discuss with you a few questions based upon the ILAT pattern, and as you are aware with the fact that in ILAT most of the questions are based upon either on the applied situation or they are based upon this principal fact based situation, in which examiner give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 principles, and based upon those principles examiner give you one factual situation, and on the basis of that factual situations examiner asks you question by giving the various 4 or 5 options. So here your knowledge of basic concept is again very important for you, and the nature of the questions can be any, means sometimes examiner may ask the application of particular law, sometimes the examiner may take the particular doctrine from the legal concept, either maybe of IPC or either maybe of tort or law of contract, and sometimes examiner may ask that what kind of offense in the given situation has been committed by the accused or the defendant. So if we take the first question, defendant servant left a motor lorry at the top of a steep and narrow street unattended, means defendant के servant ने अपनी मोटर लॉरी को एक ढलान पर और एक नैरो स्ट्रीट में अनअटेंडेड छोड़ दिया. अनअटेंडेड मतलब अकेला छोड़ दिया. विद द इंजन रनिंग, जिसका इंजन चल रहा था. विदाउट हैविंग टेकन प्रॉपर प्रिकॉशंस टू सिक्योर इट, और इसके बारे में उसने कोई प्रॉपर प्रिकॉशंस नहीं ली. द लॉरी स्टार्टेड ऑफ बाई इटसेल्फ एंड रैन वॉलेंटली डाउन द इंक्लाइन, मीन्स लॉरी वहां से चलने लगी और नीचे की तरफ आने लगी. प्लेंटिव्स वाइफ, जो इस केस में प्लेंटिव है, उनकी वाइफ who had been walking up the street with her children, means वो बच्चों के साथ जा रही थी, and उसने अपने बच्चों को छोड़ दिया था. with them a little point where the street make a bend, means एक गली थी. गली में क्या था, अगर हम इस फैक्चुअल सिचुएशन की बात करें, ऊपर से एक रास्ता आ रहा था, स्लोप रास्ता था, नैरो गली थी. उस नैरो गली में एक पर्सन ने यानी कि डिफेंडेंट के सर्वेंट ने एक लॉरी को अनअटेंडेड छोड़ दिया, जिसका कि इंजन अभी चल रहा था. नीचे वो लेडी यानी कि प्लेंटिफ की वाइफ कुछ बच्चों के साथ जा रही थी और उसने उन बच्चों को छोड़ दिया था, जहां पर गली में थोड़ा सा मुड़ाव आता है, थोड़ा बेंड होती है गली पर. ठीक है. शी बिकम वेरी फ्राइटेंड, parted with them a little point where the street was bent. When she saw the lorry rushing round the bend towards her, जब उसने लॉरी को अपनी तरफ आते हुए देखा, she became very frightened, वो बहुत भयभीत हो गई. For the safety of her children, अपने बच्चों की सेफ्टी के लिए. Who by that time were out of the sight round the bend and who she knew must have met the lorry in its course. तो उसने देखा कि जो लॉरी है वो उसके बच्चों की तरफ जा रही थी और उसको इस बात का एहसास हुआ कि दिस लॉरी हैज़ कॉज सम प्रॉब्लम टू हर child or children. She was almost immediately afterwards informed by the bystander that a child, the description of one of hers, had been injured. थोड़ी देर के बाद ही, मतलब पहले उसको ये रीजनेबल एप्रीहेंशन हो गया कि उसके बच्चे को इंजरी हो गई है बिकॉज ऑफ दिस लॉरी. आफ्टर सम टाइम और जस्ट आफ्टर दिस टाइम somebody मीन्स ए बाईस्टैंडर ने उसको इस बात की इंफॉर्मेशन दी कि जैसे बच्चे का डिस्क्रिप्शन उसका है ऐसे बच्चे को इंजरी हो गई है और उसकी इन कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज ऑफ हर फ्राइट एंड एनेक्सिटी शी सफर्ड इंजरी विच इवेंचुअली कॉज्ड हर डेथ. तो जब उसको ये इस बात का इंफॉर्मेशन मिली कि भाई उसके बच्चे को चोट लग गई है, इंजरी हो गई है, तो इस डर से वो और इससे भय होकर वो उसकी मतलब डेथ हो गई. वेयर बाय हर हस्बैंड लॉस्ट द बेनिफिट ऑफ हर सर्विसेज. जब वाइफ की डेथ हो गई तो वाइफ से मिलने वाली जो भी सर्विसेज थी उसके हस्बैंड को लॉस हुआ. इन एन एक्शन बाय द हस्बैंड अंडर द फैटल एक्सीडेंट एक्ट. इस लेडी के हस्बैंड ने एक केस किया फैटल एक्सीडेंट एक्ट के अंदर. Now you have to decide what tort or offense, if any, has been committed by the defendant in the given circumstances. So देखो, what happens usually in these kind of questions, examiner give you a factual situations and examiner may ask any type of questions. If we see the present example or present case or present question before us, then in the current question examiner asking that whether the defendant has committed a tort, or if he has committed tort, then which tort he has committed, and if he has committed the offense, then which offense he has committed. So now examiner is free to ask any type of questions. This may be based upon principle, may be based upon factual situation, may know the nature of the offense, may know the constituent of a particular offense. There are 5 questions, 5 options again before you, and you have to find out the most appropriate one. So if we take this option A, option A is providing for defendant is liable for negligence because he committed breach of duty to take care. तो defendant को negligence के लिए liable माना जा रहा है क्योंकि उसने duty of care का breach किया. Second, defendant is liable for nervous shock but not for any other tort or offense. डिफेंडेंट केवल नर्वस शॉक के लिए लायबल है और किसी टॉर्ट और ऑफेंस के लिए लायबल नहीं है. थर्ड, डिफेंडेंट इज नॉट लायबल फॉर एनी टॉर्ट, रादर ही इज लायबल फॉर क्रिमिनल ऑफेंस ऑफ कल्पेबल होमिसाइड नॉट अमाउंटिंग टू मर्डर. मींस थर्ड ऑप्शन कहता है कि डिफेंडेंट ने टॉर्ट किया है, टॉर्ट नहीं किया है बल्कि उसने कल्पेबल होमिसाइड का ऑफेंस किया है. फोर्थ, नो टॉर्ट इज मेड आउट इन द गिवन सर्कमस्टेंसेस. इस गिवन सर्कमस्टेंसेस में कोई भी टॉर्ट नहीं बनता. एंड फिफ्थ, ऑल द अबव. सो एज आई टोल्ड यू, दिस फिफ्थ ऑप्शन ऑल द अबव इज जस्ट मेक यू कंफ्यूज. एंड इफ वी एनालाइज ऑल द प्रोविजंस और ऑल द ऑप्शंस हियर on the basis of the factual situation in the question number 1, then we come to the conclusion that it is the case of nervous shock and is not the case of negligence or culpable homicide. Now question is that why it is the case of nervous shock only and not the case of this culpable homicide or negligence. So first of all, I am telling you it's not the case of negligence. Why it is not the case of negligence? Because in negligence there is a direct duty of take care towards a particular person, but in the given situation there was a time gap and the difference of distance between the lorry and the victim. So when lorry was left unattended by the servant of the defendant in the given factual situation, he was not having any duty to take care of that lady who suffered death and the children of that lady. So that's why the negligence will not be applicable here. Yeah, since she suffered death because of the nervous shock, she herself assumed that some injury has been caused to her child, and she was also informed by one of the bystander that some injury has been caused to the child of the description of her child. So in this given situations, option B is most appropriate. As far as the offense of culpable homicide is concerned, culpable homicide is not committed because it does not fulfill the essential element of section 299 of IPC, that is intentions to cause death. So the first point is that intentions to cause death. So in the given case, the defendant servant did not have intention to cause death, so the third option will not be applicable. So correct option is B. Now we come to second question, and in second question examiner has given you two principles. Principle number 1 is offer. When a person expresses his willingness to another person to do or to abstain from doing something and also obtain the consent of such expression, it is called an offer. Means जब एक व्यक्ति अपनी विलिंगनेस किसी दूसरे व्यक्ति को शो करता है और उस विलिंगनेस के आधार पर दूसरे व्यक्ति की कंसेंट इस रेफरेंस में मांगता है कि या तो दूसरा व्यक्ति कोई काम करेगा या वो दूसरा व्यक्ति कोई काम नहीं करेगा, तब हम ऐसा मानते हैं कि दैट पर्सन हैज कमिटेड और दैट पर्सन हैज मेड एन ऑफर. सेकेंड पॉइंट और सेकेंड प्रिंसिपल इज प्रोवाइडिंग फॉर द एक्सेप्टेंस. नाउ दिस एक्सेप्टेंस is very important. It provides that when the persons to whom the proposal has been made signifies his assent thereto. Means अगर किसी व्यक्ति को प्रपोजल दिया गया है और वो व्यक्ति उस प्रपोजल के प्रति अपनी एक्सेप्टेंस को सिग्निफाइज करता है, मतलब एग्री हो जाता है. द ऑफर इज सेड टू बी एक्सेप्टेड. तो हम ऐसा मानते हैं कि ऑफर को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया गया है. प्रपोजल व्हेन एक्सेप्टेड बिकम ए प्रॉमिस. और अगर किसी प्रपोजल को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया गया है then it becomes a promise. Means if somebody has accepted the offer, then it will become a promise. Therefore once an offer is accepted, it cannot be revoked because means अगर एक बार ऑफर को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया गया है then such offer cannot be revoked. Why it cannot be revoked? Because it has become a promise which create a legal obligation between the parties. So once an offer is accepted, it becomes a promise. Why it becomes a promise? Because it creates the legal obligation between the parties. Now we come to the factual situation. As for the given factual situation, Mr. Honey was interested in purchasing a piece of property in Jamnagar belonging to Mr. Famous. Means Mr. Honey Mr. Famous की जामनगर की किसी प्रॉपर्टी को खरीदना चाहता है. Mr. Honey sent Mr. Famous a telegram which stated that will you sell me your property of Jamnagar. Mr. Honey Mr. Famous को एक टेलीग्राम भेजता है और उसमें वो कहता है कि क्या आप अपनी जामनगर की प्रॉपर्टी मुझे बेचोगे. इफ़ यस, अगर आप बेचना चाहते हैं, टेलीग्राफ द लोएस्ट प्राइस, तो मुझे उस प्रॉपर्टी के लोएस्ट प्राइस बताएं. ऑन द सेम डे मिस्टर फेमस रिप्लाइड लोएस्ट प्राइस ऑफ द प्रॉपर्टी इज 900. मिस्टर फेमस ने रिप्लाई किया कि भाई मेरी प्रॉपर्टी का जो लोएस्ट प्राइस है वो 900 रुपीज़ है. मिस्टर हनी रेस्पॉन्डेड बाय स्टेटिंग दैट ही एग्रीज टू बाय द प्रॉपर्टी इन द 900 एंड आस्क्ड मिस्टर फेमस टू सेंड हिज टाइटल डीड इन ऑर्डर दैट ही मे गेट द अर्ली पोजेशन ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी. मीन्स जैसे ही मिस्टर फेमस ने प्रॉपर्टी का मिनिमम प्राइस 900 रुपीज़ बताया, मिस्टर हनी उसको खरीदने के लिए एग्री हो जाते हैं और मिस्टर हनी कहते हैं कि आप फटाफट इसकी टाइटल डीड मेरे पास भेजो ताकि मैं इसको फटाफट खरीद लूँ. मिस्टर फेमस डिड नॉट सेंड द टाइटल डीड. मिस्टर फेमस ने टाइटल डीड को नहीं भेजा और मिस्टर हनी ब्रॉट लीगल एक्शन फॉर ब्रीच ऑफ प्रोमिसरी एस्टॉपल अगेंस्ट मिस्टर फेमस. अब मिस्टर हनी मिस्टर फेमस के खिलाफ एक लीगल एक्शन लेकर आते हैं कि आपने प्रोमिसरी एस्टॉपल किया है, मतलब प्रॉमिस को ब्रीच किया है. क्यों? क्योंकि आपने मेरे ऑफर को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया था. और as per the given legal principle, when an offer is accepted, it becomes a promise. Now examiner asking you decide whether it was proper acceptance of the offer by Mr. Famous in the given circumstances. क्या इस given factual situation में उसने जो ऑफर को एक्सेप्ट किया था या जो मिनिमम प्राइस अपनी प्रॉपर्टी के बताए थे, क्या वो ऑफर था? तो क्या मिनिमम प्राइस बताना एक ऑफर की एक्सेप्टेंस माना जा सकता है? इट इज द लीगल पॉइंट इन दिस क्वेश्चन विच द एग्जामिनर इज आस्किंग फ्रॉम ऑल ऑफ यू. नाउ सी इफ वी सी There are 5 options again before us, and option number 1 provides that Mr. Famous is bound to give the said property to Mr. Honey at the lowest price as there was contract between the two. Means Mr. Famous अपनी प्रॉपर्टी मिस्टर हनी को देने के लिए बाउंड है उसी लोवेस्ट प्राइस ऑफ 900 पर। क्यों? क्योंकि दोनों के बीच में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट था। सेकंड, Mr. Honey is entitled to said property because it was proper acceptance of offer as per the Indian Contract Act. Mr. Honey को प्रॉपर्टी मिलनी चाहिए। क्यों? क्योंकि इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट के हिसाब से ये प्रॉपर एक्सेप्टेंस थी। थर्ड, merely telling the minimum price of a property is not the acceptance of offer. मीन्स अगर कोई व्यक्ति अपनी प्रॉपर्टी के मिनिमम प्राइस बताता है तो इट विल नॉट अमाउंट टू द एक्सेप्टेंस ऑफ ऑफर। एंड फोर्थ, इट इज़ वैलिड एक्सेप्टेंस बिकॉज द एक्सेप्टेंस वाज फ्री एज पर द इंडियन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एक्ट। तो फोर्थ ऑप्शन कहता है कि एक वैलिड एक्सेप्टेंस है। वाई इट इज़ वैलिड? बिकॉज द कंसेंट ऑफ मिस्टर फेमस वाज टेकन बाय मिस्टर हनी freely and not because of any coercion, threat or inducement etc. as provided from section 15 to 20 of the Indian Contract Act. Now dear students, we have to find out or we have to choose the correct answer out of the given 5 options. So again, if you have the basic knowledge about the concept of the Indian Contract Act, then and if you have gone through the case laws of Indian Contract Act, then you would be able to answer these type of questions. If you don't have the basic knowledge and you did not have the basic understanding regarding some landmark cases, then you will not be able to handle these kind of questions. That's why I am telling you again and again that first of all you must make your concept clear, then only you would be able to solve the questions of the examinations, whether these are based upon the current legal information or whether these are based upon the traditional legal information. So in the given situation, the option C is most appropriate because he or Mr. Famous only told the minimum price of the house, and on the merely telling the minimum price of the house is not the acceptance of the offer, and he would not be bound to give the property to Mr. Honey in the given factual situation. So dear students, that's all for today, and these are the answer key of this CLAT passage, and it is the answer key of IELTS based questions. If you have any doubt in any of the answer of this question, you may mention in the comment box and we will definitely give you reply of your query. And if you have any other doubt apart from the answers, you may also ask your query in the comment box. We will reply you definitely. So that's all for today. I will come again with the next legal questions of the month. Till then, please take care of yourself and observe COVID appropriate behavior. Please follow the guidelines issued by the government, and thank you very much.